Some other key terms we analyze in Module 1 are this idea of population and sample. So when we study us, we want to study things about a population. And a population, right, is a collection of persons or things or objects that we want to study. However, it's hard to study a population when populations are big. And so many times what we have to do is move from a population and then study samples. And you can see in this image here, a sample is a small group, right? It's a collection of objects, people, or things that we get from the larger population. So the sample comes from the population, so as you can see in there. And that's what we're going to do our analysis on. We're going to do an analysis on the sample, and then hoping that that analysis is able, right, it allows us to then generalize about the population so that we can come to some conclusions about that. So when we study a sample and collect data and analyze it and get calculations, we get a statistic. So a statistic is a number that's calculated from a sample. And what we're hoping is that that sample is a good estimate for what we call a parameter, what you see down here. A parameter is a characteristic calculated from the population, or it's the value we assume that goes with the population. But many times we don't know what that parameter is because we don't have all the population data. We don't have data from everybody in the population. So we use the sample to do that. This idea that I'm highlighting here is essential in statistics. It's something I need you to remember, right? That a statistic is what we hope, if we do our data collection correct, is a good estimate for the population parameter. And again, it's because we don't know what the actual population parameter is, because the population, right, is a large group of objects or things or people that we can never get data from all of them, right? And so what happens is we think about this in this picture here. You have a population, we do a sample and get a statistic. We can do another sample, get a statistic, and that's what we see in here. And you have our definitions of what these are, but this is an essential understanding for the class, is kind of going through that. Looking at our first example for the class here, right, we have this scenario of an election. And so what you can see in this case, the population would be all the 18 to 24-year-olds in California. The sample is the 50 people that we actually asked. The parameter would be the proportion of all, right, the proportion of the population who vote. But I don't know what that is because I can never ask everyone. But theoretically, we want to use the statistic, the proportion of the 50 respondents who plan to vote, and we use that as an estimate. The sample value is an estimate for the parameter, right? We want to know the parameter, but we have to use a sample and the statistic to do that.